Godzilla vs. Professor X. Mind vs. Monster. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel where we dive into the most mind-blowing hypothetical battles. Today, we've got a showdown that's gonna rock your world, or maybe even flatten it. Imagine this. Godzilla, the king of the monsters, going head-to-head with Professor Charles Xavier, the most powerful telepath in the Marvel Universe. When colossal strength meets unparalleled intellect, who do you think comes out on top? We're talking raw, unstoppable physical might versus the incredible power of the mind. It's a battle of brawn against brain, monster against mind. So, grab your snacks, get comfy, and let's dive right into this epic face-off. First things first, let's get acquainted with our contenders. Godzilla. Originating from Japanese cinema in 1954, Godzilla was born out of the fears of nuclear radiation post-World War II. He's not just a giant lizard, he's a symbol of nature's wrath, an embodiment of destruction, and sometimes a reluctant protector. Standing over 300 feet tall, Godzilla towers above skylines. His signature move? The atomic breath, a devastating blast of radioactive energy capable of leveling entire city blocks. He possesses a regenerative healing factor, shaking off wounds that would fell any other creature. And let's not forget his nearly impenetrable hide. Conventional weapons barely tickle him. Whether on land or underwater, Godzilla is a force to be reckoned with. Professor X. Charles Xavier. On the flip side, we've got Professor Charles Xavier, the founder of the X-Men. Introduced by Marvel Comics in 1963, he's been a champion for peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants. Professor X is the world's most powerful telepath. He can read minds, influence thoughts, and even control others' actions. With abilities like projecting psychic blasts, creating mental illusions, and manipulating memories, his mind is a formidable weapon. Even though he's physically confined to a wheelchair, his intellect and mental prowess more than make up for it. He's a strategic genius, often several steps ahead of his adversaries. Now, let's size them up. Godzilla's strengths: atomic breath and nuclear pulse. Massive, destructive forces capable of annihilating opponents and structures alike. Regeneration. He heals quickly from injuries, making him incredibly hard to defeat. Durability. His thick skin is resistant to most forms of attack. Size and strength. His colossal stature gives him unparalleled physical power. Godzilla's weaknesses. Limited intelligence. He's driven by instinct rather than intellect. Reactive nature. He responds to threats but doesn't strategize. Potential psychic vulnerability. Speculative, but his mind might be susceptible to psychic powers. Professor X's strengths: telepathy. Unmatched ability to read, control, and influence minds. Strategic mind. Brilliant tactician and leader. Psychic offense and defense. Capable of powerful mental attacks and shielding. Professor X's weaknesses: physical limitations. Confined to a wheelchair, physically vulnerable. Mental strain. Overexertion of his powers can weaken him. Ethical boundaries. Reluctant to use powers unethically or aggressively. Let's paint the picture. Imagine Godzilla emerging from the ocean, drawn by an unknown force, heading straight for a bustling coastal city. Panic ensues as buildings crumble and people flee. Enter Professor X, determined to stop the destruction and save lives. They're on neutral ground. No prior knowledge of each other, no preparation. Just two titans crossing paths by chance. Both are acting to protect in their own ways, but their objectives clash. So, can Professor X control Godzilla's mind? Professor X has connected with various minds, human and alien alike. He's even dealt with cosmic beings. But Godzilla's mind is another story. A creature of pure instinct, perhaps less complex or simply different. If Professor X tries to read Godzilla's mind, he might find it challenging. The sheer size and primal nature of Godzilla's consciousness could be overwhelming. On the other hand, Godzilla might perceive any mental intrusion as a threat, potentially triggering a more aggressive response. Strategic options: direct control. Attempt to take over Godzilla's mind. Mental illusions. Create visions to distract or redirect him. Communication. Try to understand and reason with him. But every option comes with risks, both ethically and practically. Let's explore how this could go down. Outcome 1. Professor X succeeds. He manages to tap into Godzilla's mind, calming him or persuading him to change course. Disaster averted, but this could strain his powers to the limit and test his moral boundaries. Outcome 2. Godzilla is immune. Professor X's powers have no effect. Godzilla continues his rampage, and Professor X must find another way, perhaps by enlisting help or focusing on evacuation. Outcome 3. Mutual understanding. Instead of a battle, Professor X establishes a form of communication, discovering that Godzilla is responding to a threat humans are unaware of. They address the issue together, turning foes into unexpected allies. Factors at play. Environment. Chaos could hinder Professor X's concentration. Assistance. Other mutants or forces might intervene. Unknown variables. Godzilla's radiation could interfere with telepathy. The outcome depends on numerous variables, making this matchup all the more fascinating. Fans have had a field day with this one. Comic references. Professor X has interacted with non-human minds, showing it's within his capabilities. In Godzilla lore, psychics like Miki Saegusa have connected with him, implying his mind can be reached, though with difficulty. Fan theories. Some believe Godzilla's mind is too vast or primal for Professor X to handle. Others argue that Professor X's immense power could bridge any gap. Discussions often mention the unpredictability of Godzilla's reactions and the potential for radiation to impact psychic abilities. It's clear that this hypothetical battle captivates fans, fueling debates across forums and social media. Now, imagine how epic this would look on screen. Visuals. Godzilla towering over the city, with Professor X below, a tiny but significant figure. Psychic energy swirling around Professor X, reaching toward Godzilla. Close-ups of their faces, Godzilla's roaring maw and Professor X's intense focus. Audio. Deep, booming sound effects for Godzilla's movements and roars. Ethereal sounds for psychic activities, building tension. A dramatic score that crescendos during pivotal moments. These elements would make for a truly cinematic experience. So, who wins in a battle between Godzilla and Professor X? It's a tough call. If Professor X can affect Godzilla's mind, he might prevent catastrophe. If not, Godzilla's might is unstoppable. But perhaps the most compelling outcome is one where they find common ground, addressing a greater threat together. Final thoughts. At the end of the day, this hypothetical showdown highlights the intriguing contrasts between physical power and mental prowess. It showcases the limitless possibilities when different universes collide. Question for you: what do you think? Can mind triumph over monster? Or does might make right in this scenario? If you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button. Join the discussion. I want to hear your thoughts. Who do you think would win, and why? Drop your theories in the comments below. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our epic matchups. Coming up next, stay tuned for our next video where we pit two legendary heroes against each other, Superman vs. Thor. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep imagining the impossible.